Hello and welcome to this episode of the Task 1 writing module. In the last episode, I gave you the format for writing. Anything you want to write about in Task 1, use that format. Introduction, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and sometimes body paragraph 3. I forgot to tell you that Task 1 doesn't have a conclusion. You don't have to write any conclusion. There's nothing like conclusion in Task 1. Use the format I gave you. Now, before I go into how to paraphrase, how to write overview, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, that is how to write Task 1 proper, I told you there are some criteria that will be used to mark your work. And for your work to fulfill those criteria, I need to teach you what are the things that must be present in your write-up. And first, I will be starting with a line graph. Don't forget, I told you can have different kind of chart or graph. Line graph, bar chart, pie chart, a table, a diagram, a map. I'll be starting with a line graph. But I will use that opportunity to teach you the things that must be present when you are describing a line graph, a bar chart. Most of those things can be used. What I teach you here now for the line graph will also be useful. Some of them will be useful when you are describing a bar chart or a pie chart or a map, but just some little changes. Now, a line graph. For some of you that doesn't know what a line graph looks like, because I know some people are new to IELTS. And that is why I want to go through all this. If not, I will just go straight to how to write introduction. But because some people are new, so I want to start from the scratch. Now, for those that doesn't know what a line graph looks like, here is a simple line graph. Forget about the yellow boxes. Look at the line. The yellow boxes are just there for description. Now look at this line graph. This is a simple line graph. There are other line graphs that I will show you now. So those are line graphs. But I'll be using the line graph with this yellow box to explain some things to you. And the first thing I will be teaching you is language of change. Language of change. What is language of change? If you look at line graph is like a drawing going up and down like this. Zigzag, going up and down. They can give you a line graph. It will not be straight like this. That means when you are to describe that line graph, you need to be explaining how it's going up and down, how it's fluctuating like this, like this, like this, like that. Now, there are some language, there are some words they expect you to be using when you are describing it. And I call them language of change. Language of change. Not that you will just be telling us that, oh, it went up to 40 and then came down again to 30 and then increased again, then it was zigzag. No. There are ready-made words for that. There are words that you already know. I just need to call your attention to them so that you know them. You know them and you know how to use them and when to use them. So you must know the appropriate language of change to use and when to use them. So if you look at this line graph now, you can see that this line graph started from the left, from the first yellow box. So that is when they start drawing the line graph, and then it ended in 2005. If you look at where it started, it was in 1991, where that blue line started. Now, That point where it started, that point, that exact point where the first yellow box arrow is pointing to, when you want to start describing a line graph, the first language of change you can use at that point, at that exact point, is stood at. Stood at. Stood at. Now, you cannot use stood at again anywhere. You can only use it at the beginning of a line graph. You want to say, oh, the price of petroleum in January 2000, the price of petrol in Nigeria in January 2023 stood at 50 naira. Now, this graph is about the number of arrests per year for using illegal drug. So I want to say the number of arrests for illegal drug use stood at around 55. Stood at. Forget about the figure for now. I will still teach you how to quote figures. But I can be teaching you with this anyway. Now, when you are quoting a particular part of the graph, like you use language of change, you must quote the right figure and the right year as well. You can see the year is on the horizontal graph. You can see the year under, which is 1991. And then to your left, you can see the figure, which is around 55. You can say 55 because I'm sure that it's at 55. If you are not sure, just add around 55. If you are not sure of a particular figure, just put around. You don't quote a figure that you are not sure of as if you are sure. Just write around 55. So I want to believe stood at is very clear now. You only use it when you want to start describing a line graph. Stood at. That is the first language of change. So all of you will agree with me if I ask you which of the yellow box, inside which of the yellow box will you write stood at now? You know that it is the first yellow box. I will still test you on the others. Now, another language of change is increased significantly. Increased significantly. If you know that, if you notice, I am using past tense, increased significantly. Why? Because this line graph is in the past. This arrest they are showing, it was between 1991 and 2005. It has happened in the past. So I have to be using past tense. And that is another thing you must note when you are describing anything in IELTS Task 1. Note, are you supposed to use past tense or future tense? The date on the graph will tell you. Jot that down. Jot it down. Tenses. Your tenses matters. If the date on the graph is in the past, you have to be using past tense. So another language of change, increased significantly. Increased significantly or increased dramatically or rose significantly. Rose, increased. They are the same thing. Rose significantly. Now, when do you use that? You use that when there is a large increase. When the line goes up and is a big increase, you use increase significantly or rose significantly. I want you to have a look at this graph and tell me which part can you use increased significantly? Which of the yellow box? The yellow box is pointing to some line. So just tell me the line you can use increased significantly. Just tell me. For me, I can see that if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sixth yellow box, you can see the line went up. It was very long. I can use increased significantly there. And I can also use increased significantly on the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth yellow box. If you look at it, it increased from 25 to 50. That's double. It doubled. Because it was 25, then it increased to 50. That's double, isn't it? It's a big increase as well. I can say I can use increased significantly. So you will use your own discretion. This is a big increase. Increased significantly. I believe that is clear now. Then another one that is similar to that is decreased significantly or dramatically or fell significantly. Fell, when something fall, fell significantly or decreased significantly or dramatically. Significantly and dramatically, they are synonymous. Now, look at this graph again. You know, I don't need to tell you the meaning of decreased significantly. When something go down and is a big decrease, you use fell significantly. Now, if you look at this graph again, where can you use fell significantly? A lot of places. A lot of places. If you look at the second box, from where the line graph started, you know, when in 1991, it started at 55, then it came down. That was a big increase from 55 to 20. You can use the fell significantly or decrease significantly there. Now, if you look further, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at the 8th line where the graph came down from the top. It was a large increase. You can use decrease significantly there. Sometimes in that part where there was a very large drop, you can use plunged, P-L-U-N-G-E-D, plunged. You can say the number plunged to. Plunge and decrease significantly, they are synonymous. They are the same thing. I can say the number decreased significantly to so figure in so year, or I can say the number plunged to so figure in so year. I hope that is clear. Plunged, decreased significantly, fell significantly, fell dramatically, they are the same thing. I hope that is clear. Another language of change is increased slightly or rose slightly or rose gradually. Gradually and slightly, they are synonymous. Increase slightly when there is a small increase, just small increase. And if you look at this graph, you will agree with me that if you look at the third yellow box, that was a small increase. It increased from 20 to 25. That's an increase slightly or increase gradually to 25. And if you look again, where else? I want you to look yourself and locate another place. I don't want to tell you. You can drop your answer in the comment box. That will be your assignment. I'll see it. Just tell me which other part, looking at where the yellow boxes are pointing to, which other part can you say you can use increase slightly or increase gradually? Tell me. Now, you know that. Another one that is similar to that is the opposite of that, decreased slightly or fell slightly when there is a small decrease. When there is a small decrease. When there is a small decrease, fell slightly. Fell slightly. If I look at this graph, I may not be able to see a place where it fell slightly. But however, you know what fell slightly means. When something just come down a little bit, it fell slightly. I will have been able to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth box. But the fifth box is not just pointing to a particular place. It's pointing to an area. But if you look at that plane, you can see where the graph came down a little bit. In that part, when you see something like that on a line graph, don't forget, I'm only using this line graph to explain. This is not an ID question. When it came down slightly, you say fell slightly, fell gradually. That is that. Another one is remain constant. Remain constant or remain unchanged. Remain constant, remain unchanged, or flattened off, anyone you want to use. When there is no change in value and the line is flat, is going flat, it didn't change, you can use the word remained constant, language of change. The number remained constant, remained constant. And if you look at this graph, where can you use remained constant? You can see that the last box from 2003 to 2005, you can see it remained constant. It remained unchanged. It flattened off. You use remain unchanged there. So when you look at a graph, no matter the pattern you see on the graph, you can identify, oh, which word do I need to use here? Which word do I? That is the essence of language of change. Those are the things they are expecting from you in the IELTS Task 1 writing. Another one is peaked at, peak, P-E-A-K, A-K, P-E-A-K-E-D, peaked at, peaked at. Peaked at is used when the highest point on a line graph is reached. You can say the number peaked at so figure. For example, if you look at this line graph, look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the seventh yellow box. You can see that that is the highest point on the whole graph. That is the peak. You can say the number of arrests peaked at 80 in year 2000. If you look under the yellow box, you can see that it's at year 2000. The number peaked at 80, peaked at. So when you use peaked at, the figure will follow. The number peaked at 80 in the year 2000. So peak at is used when the highest point on a graph, when that point is the highest point on that graph, you can use peaked at. And then something opposite that is hit a trough off, or hit a low of, hit a low of, low, L-O-W, off. Or the number hit a trough off. I'll still send all those language of change. Trough off, T-R-O-U-G-H. Hit a trough off or hit a low of when the lowest point on the graph is reached. For example, if you look at in the year 2001, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The ninth yellow box, that was when the graph hits the lowest point. That is the lowest point on the graph. And then it remained constant to year 2002 before increasing slightly. So if you look at where it hit the lowest point, that you can say hit a low of. The number of arrests hit a low of around 15 in year 2001. The number hit a low of 15 in 2001. Hit a low of 15. Or the number hit a trough of 15 in 2001. Can you see the essence of the language of change now? And then the next thing is, you know all those other ones now. The next thing is fluctuate. Fluctuate. When you see on a graph and there's just a fluctuation, it's not really, there's no big increase, no big decrease. It just fluctuated for some time, like a zigzag. You use the number fluctuate between you quote the year where that fluctuation started from and where it ended. You can see the number fluctuates between 1996 and 1999. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The best place to use that is where you see zigzag. That is the 5th yellow box. The number fluctuates. The number fluctuates till 1999. The number fluctuates. So I want to believe I have taught you all the language of change relating to this line graph. But I will run through them again so that you will know why the language of change is useful. There are other things I will still teach you that you have to use together, but I'm teaching you language of change now. Next, I will still teach you another thing. Now, let us run through them again from the beginning of this line graph. Now, at the beginning, the number of arrests stood at around 55. It now fell significantly to 20 in 1993. Can you see? Second box. It increased slightly to 25 over the next 2 years. 2 years after 1993 is 1995. I don't have to say 1995. I will still teach you that. Now, before increasing significantly again to 50 in 1996, the number then fluctuates till 1999 and then increased sharply or dramatically, to hit a high of 80. Hit a high of 80 in 2000. Are you following me? It plunged to 15, or it fell significantly to 15 in 2001, and then remained constant till the following year before increasing slightly to 20 in 2003. The number then flattened off or remained unchanged till year 2005. I hope this is clear. That is language of change. You need to know them. So that increased significantly, decreased significantly, increased slightly, decreased slightly, plunged or decreased significantly, hit a high of, or hit a low of, or hit a trough of, remain constant, fluctuate. Those are the language of change. You must know them. You must know them. And I can assure you, if you practice them, you will master them. If you practice them on one question, if I give you a question to just practice them before we graduate into writing a complex line graph, then you will know them. There's no doubt about it. Just follow what I have taught you. I'm still going to teach you more, some other things that you need to add together before I give you something to try. So that is what I plan to teach you in this episode. In the next episode, I will teach you some other things that you must have in your write-up when you are describing a line graph. Don't forget, we are still on line graph.